Howdy friendos, TheKrazyJason here, and welcome to my Wacky Emporium. Today I bring you my top shelf DVDs. Okay, so let me explain. They're literally on my top shelf, most of them, that is. And here's the criteria. They are my go-to movies. When I was arranging my shelf, I decided that I wanted to put the movies that I usually go to, like, you know, comfort food, or movies that I watch more than others. Now, these are not, and let me stress this, these are not necessarily what I consider to be the best movies ever made. Like with the top 20 Blu-rays, rewatchability plays a high factor in these choices. But I want them at easy reach. You know, the kind of movie or movies that you're going to want to grab when you're sick. You know, when you've got the cold or the flu and you're down for 3 days to a week. These are the movies you're going to want to get and watch. Or if you're feeling blue, you know, or if you're feeling depressed, you know, it's like listening to the blues, for me at least, because you're not going to find a lot of comedies in there. And if they are comedies, they're going to have some depth to them. They're going to have some truth about the human condition in it, or something like that. You know, when I'm really depressed, honestly, folks, Mr. Woodcock's just not going to cut it for me. You know what I'm saying? For instance, last night, or yesterday afternoon, I wasn't feeling well. And so I popped in Mike Leigh's Naked, and that did it for me. Is that sick? Is that, what do you got? I'm not going to ask you. I'm not going to ask you, but, you know, I don't know. I find that I have to be in a pretty good mood in order to enjoy a comedy, but I am digressing big time. Let me get into my top shelf DVDs. Here we go. Okay. Now, first of all, let me say this is the only part of my DVD collection that I decided to alphabetize. Just because it is just the top shelf, I figured what the hell to make it even easier. First up, we have Adaptation. Brilliant screenplay by Charlie Kaufman. Next, we have American Movie. This movie I have watched so many times. If you haven't seen it, you have to see it. You have to get it. This is a movie, if I have friends over at the house who are like-minded individuals, they enjoy filmmaking, and especially the process of filmmaking, they enjoy this movie. Next up, American Psycho. I realized that the Blu-ray is out, but I've heard negative things, so I just decided to keep my DVD copy. Annie Hall, obviously big Woody Allen fan. At Close Range, this is one that I highly recommend. It's got Christopher Walken and Sean Penn in it. It's from the 80s. If you haven't seen it, must see. Next up, Battle Beyond the Stars. Oh yes, and I do realize that this was just released Tuesday on Blu-ray from Shout Factory. I'm going to definitely have to pick that up. #1 on my list of Blu-rays to get now. Before Sunset, Richard Linklater's follow-up to Before Sunrise. Of course, Better Off Dead, with the cool I Love the 80s slipcover. You guys remember when I got that. The Black Stallion. This gorgeous film, I just cannot wait for the Blu-ray on this. This is a very anticipated Blu-ray for me. A Boy and His Dog, my favorite post-apocalyptic film. Boys Don't Cry. Now, this is a pretty heavy film, but the mood, the atmosphere of the film is right up my alley. The atmosphere of this film is what I like, you know. And I like to watch movies about trailer trash. You know, that wasn't very nice. Let me put it this way. I like to watch movies about low-income individuals. Actually, that sounded worse. Moving on. Brainstorm. Christopher Walken, plus an awesome science fiction premise, plus Douglas Trumbull producing and directing equals Brainstorm, equals something you gotta see. Cape Fear. Out of all of Scorsese's films, saving perhaps Taxi Driver, this I find the most rewatchable. It's, you know, it's a thriller. And, you know, I don't know what to say. I can't go in depth here, but I do know that the final scenes, when they're on the boat, to this day, I still don't know how he staged those. Amazing. Crimes and Misdemeanors. In the running for Woody Allen's masterpiece, in my opinion. I know that he himself disagrees with that, but hey. Dead Poets Society. Another one that I cannot wait. I hope they do a good job on the Blu-ray release. They did a good job on the DVD release. It's got some really cool features. Of course, Evil Dead 2. Gotta have that close by. Frailty. Wish Bill Paxton would direct more movies. Glengarry Glen Ross. Another one I'm going to say. I'm probably going to go into depth on this movie one day. Just do a standalone review. If you haven't seen this film, go forth and see it. Groundhog Day, which, yes, I did just pick up on Blu-ray, so I should make a combo pack, but I seem to continue to upgrade Blu-rays when I have a nice DVD edition that has the slipcover. Of course, this is the same artwork that's got the really horrible Bill Murray face. Like, I don't know what that is. That's not Bill Murray. That's a CG imitation, and frankly, it's scary. It scares me. Look at those eyes. But yeah, it's got all the same features except the Blu-ray has the needle-nosed Ned. He walks in the frame and gives you little factoids, whatever. Moving on, another Woody Allen, Hannah and Her Sisters. Hard Candy. Speaking of slipcovers, my good buddy the Ace Hunter picked me up one from Big Lots that has a slipcover on it, so I'll be replacing that. Heavenly Creatures. Oh yes, this is Peter Jackson pre-Lord of the Rings. Eminently rewatchable. Inside Man, and once again, you know, hey Crazy, why don't you make a combo pack? Because I keep upgrading of the I have so few slipcovers, and I just I can't give it up. Jaws, another anticipated Blu-ray release. Kill Bill Volumes 1 and 2. Now, I will be making combo packs for these movies once I have watched the Blu-rays, and then I'll replace these. Because here's the thing. Basically, all of my DVDs are my favorite movies, but these are just the ones that I tend to gravitate towards more than the others. License to Drive, which I believe is out of print now. Of course, I had to get this. I'm a big Two Coreys fan, and especially Feldman. I gotta, you know, you're gonna be ashamed at some of the movies that I have in my collection with those guys. The Lost Boys, of course, and yeah, I really need to create a combo pack on The Lost Boys. I just now realized that. Next up, Mad Max. I need to get this on Blu-ray. I need it. Speaking of something I need on Blu-ray, Manhattan, which, unless they fuck it up, is going to be gorgeous. Manhattan, best opening to a film ever, in my humble opinion. Next up, Mean Creek. Another Woody Allen sleeper. Oh, my Repo Man 10 just fell. Okay, where were we? Sleeper, Modern Romance. Love this movie. Noises Off. An underrated and sort of forgotten comedy that is absolutely hilarious. And Michael Caine, I used to call him Michael Caine, the funniest man alive, even though he plays very dramatic roles. One False Move, co-written by Billy Bob Thornton. This is another must-see. Definitely need to check this out if you haven't seen it. The Others with Nicole Kidman. Good ghost horror film. Raising Arizona. Yes, this is next to The Big Lebowski, my most rewatched Coen Brothers movie. The River's Edge. Now, of all the films that I, excepting Glengarry Glen Ross, you gotta see this. This is from the 80s. This has Keanu Reeves, pre-Bill and Ted, before his voice got stuck like this. Also has Crispin Glover in an insane performance, and Dennis Hopper. With that cast, guys, please go and watch this movie if you haven't seen it. Rushmore. You guys know my journey to... I had the regular DVD edition, and a lot of you probably remember my journey to find the Criterion, which I adore. So, speaking of great science fiction that has been forgotten, another Douglas Trumbull masterpiece, Silent Running. It does have a goofy soundtrack, though. Really silly early 70s hippie songs. Stand By Me. Again, I need to create a combo pack. So I'll be making changes to this top shelf soon. Sunset Boulevard, of course. I believe I went into that in one of my weekly roundups. The Sure Thing. I actually have the original one sheet for The Sure Thing, as well as for Cape Fear, and of course, Battle Beyond the Stars. Next up, all of the Star Trek movies. Pretty self-explanatory, and of course, I have them on Blu-ray, but the thing is, these are definitely movies that when I'm sick, I want to watch these movies. So, alright, Sum of All Fears, and yes, I do like it that much. I mean, hell, they detonate a nuclear bomb in Baltimore. Give me a break. My favorite animated film of all time, The Iron Giant, which, again, can't wait for the Blu-ray. Tape. And yes, I do watch this movie over and over again. Again, another Richard Linklater film. I'm a big fan of Linklater, even though he has made some films that I don't like, that I find boring. But then he makes movies like Tape and Dazed and Confused and Before Sunrise and Sunset. Slacker that I can watch over and over. Trainspotting. Need the Blu-ray. Welcome to the Dollhouse. Another movie that if you have not seen, must see. This movie is hilarious. It's great. Eminently rewatchable. Et tu, Mamba Tambien. The greatest French New Wave film not to be shot in French, I guess. Ah, my Repo Man 10 keeps falling. What is that a sign of? Alright, now, Before Sunrise, the first film. Hey, Crazy, why do you have Before Sunrise down here instead of over here with Before Sunset? Well, let me explain. There's a method to my madness. I put everything in alphabetical order, with the exception of the films that come in the horrible snapper cases. And this was my way of sort of getting them out of the way. I put them at the end, that way they're not poked, because you know they poke out, and I didn't want to have a bunch of DVDs poking out. So yeah, Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, highly recommended. And then I have the three Christopher Guest movies, Waiting for Guffman, Best in Show, A Mighty Wind, all hilarious, all brilliant. Truffaut's Day for Night, which is probably my favorite Truffaut film. Again, you know, I love movies about the process of making movies, so of course I'm going to like that. Fearless, this is an underrated, forgotten movie with Jeff Bridges. Definitely need to see it if you haven't. And Running on Empty, the late, great Sidney Lumet's movie that has the late, great River Phoenix in it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, and this is probably going to, this is already an answer to a question for my upcoming Q&A, I think. I don't know. Maybe someone didn't ask this question, but this is a movie that makes me cry every single time. The end of this movie gets me. It always draws the tears. This is a beautiful film. I can't say enough, and yes, this is the full screen edition, but I love this movie so much that I will tolerate that, and I rarely do. I treasure this movie. Another movie that I treasure, I consider to be on my top shelf, is Cinema Paradiso, which also happens to be in my top 5 greatest films of all time. There's some, and then let's see what else. Oh, down below, I sort of shoehorn these in. These belong on the top shelf, even though they're not actually on the top shelf. Start out with a couple of documentaries. Slasher, must see. Even more of a must see is Anvil, the story of Anvil. Just mind-boggling. And once again, even more of a must see is, wow, Lake of Fire. This is some heavy stuff here, folks. Heavy. Birth, another Nicole Kidman film. Underrated thriller in my opinion. Junebug, which was filmed around these here parts. If you want to know what it's really like in the southeast, around near where I live, then you need to see the movie Junebug. It's also really rewatchable in my opinion. Another highly rewatchable film for me is Wendy and Lucy. This is such a simple movie. Simple movies like The Straight Story, I love them. I can watch them over and over. I don't know why I love this movie so much, but I do. Wonder Boys. Gotta love Wonder Boys. The Ice Storm. Gosford Park. And Vision Quest. This is a great 80s movie. Vision Quest. Great soundtrack. Let's see. What else? Okay, over here, I couldn't fit this on, obviously. The Brat Pack Movies and Music Collection, Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, and Weird Science. All great John Hughes-esque 80s movies that I can watch anytime. Then I have the Pirates movies, Young Frankenstein, Idiocracy, the Steve Martin Collection, which has The Jerk, The Lonely Guy. Can I say one thing? The Jerk, is it just me, or does not The Jerk get funnier over time with repeated viewings? It just gets sillier and funnier and funnier. That movie just makes me crazy. Hatchet, which is, I just saw Hatchet within the last year and already one of my favorite horror films. Bottle Rocket, of course, my favorite Wes Anderson film next to Rushmore. Speaking of Rushmore, when is Criterion going to release the Blu-ray? For God's sakes! Napoleon Dynamite, Another Day in Paradise, Memento, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Now this is not the Bueller edition. I did make a combo pack for that. This is the one, the earlier release, that has the John Hughes commentary track on it, so you guys need to be aware of that. This is one of those comedies, and I was talking at the beginning that I don't really care to watch comedies when I'm in a bad mood or I'm depressed or whatever. This is one of the rare exceptions, and that's because, like I said, this has depth to it. It has truthiness to it, as, what's his name? Colbert. Bug. Love, this is such a disgusting horror film, but it's riveting. Born to Kill, film noir, represent. Amelie, which is coming to Blu-ray, I believe, next week. The Crying Game, Chicago. King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters, another great documentary, very fun to watch. Dark Star, another, not obscure, but this was John Carpenter's student film that him and Dan O'Bannon made, and Dan O'Bannon went on to write Alien, of course, and but they actually released this theatrically, and there's a lot of story. This is one I'll probably do an in-depth review on, or a separate review on. But if you haven't seen it, it's hilarious, and it's good science fiction. That's Entertainment. Jurassic Park, which is something else that's coming out on Blu-ray this year. The Out of Towners, the original, with Jack Lemmon, absolutely hilarious. And of course, Fear and Loathing, which, yes, I do have on HD DVD now, and I need to check it out. Well, guys, I'm going to leave it there because those are my alternates to my top shelf. But yeah, pretty much that's my top shelf. Sometimes I switch things out. And again, like I said, these are not necessarily the movies that I consider to be the greatest films of all time, although there are several in there that I do consider to be the greatest movies of all time. So let me ask you this. What are your top shelf movies? Okay, they don't necessarily have to be on the top shelf of your DVD shelf. But if you have put them in a special location, that would be cool to see. Or if you just want to pull them, basically I would like to see some video responses if you guys feel like doing them, to tell me your top shelf DVDs. And you can basically just pull out the movies that you consider to be your comfort food, or your go-to movies when you're not feeling well, or, you know, just movies that you can watch over and over again. Okay, well that will do her. I'm Crazy Jason, and you've been in my Wacky Emporium, baby.